Number 7, last one is, and among all of this, not only do you have to do what's right for you, but you also have to do what's right to support others in the workplace too. And I have to say, I don't remember whether it was Madeleine Albright, somebody said there's a special place in hell for women who don't support women. Right? Now, I would like to broaden that to say there is a place in hell for everybody who doesn't support each other, right? Particularly in an organization like Save the Children, right? Are we not all here to actually save the children, right? So is internal fighting the way to do this? No. That's not to say that you should not be airing, your differences and sharing different points of view and everything else, but we need to be clear about what is collaboration versus confrontation versus, just competition, right? So here's a couple things that have worked really well for other organizations that I thought about. The first is about self-awareness. There's not a person in this room that doesn't come with bias. We all have it, right? The number one thing, first off, is know what your bias is, right? I used to be biased against slow people because I just didn't think they were smart enough. They drive me crazy because I couldn't wait till they finished their sentences, right? Now I realize that's just me. That's just me, and that is not about the value of them, right? You have to accept that difference is good. So self-awareness, what are your biases? The second is, indeed, respect for difference, right? You have to not only say it, you have to actually learn to embrace it. This is the hardest thing in building diverse cultures because everybody can be tolerant. Well, okay, I hope that everybody in these rooms can be tolerant. But I'm actually saying you need to figure out how to embrace people who are different than you are, right? Okay, third thing, focus on collaboration, not competition. And as we used to say, the enemy should be out there. It should be at the consumer shelf. It should not be in the same room, right? So don't compete in ways that are negative for the organization and the individual. Compete in ways that end up with a better product, with a better outcome for the organization. That's healthy competition, right? Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to say is when you talk about a team, there's two last things. When you talk about a team, so that's not really accurate, but it's okay. I'm not perfect, let me go with it. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is when you have a team of 10 or less, here's what we've learned. 1 woman is a token. 2 women are competition. Sad but true. Only when you get to 3 or more in a team of 10 are you the norm. And now we're all just equal, right? So if you want to make a difference on your teams, remember, 1 is a token. 2 is actually competition, which is sad but true. And it doesn't matter whether it could be 2 men. In this case, it could be 2 men because you're like, oh, there's a man on the team, right? So that's the oddball out. Either way, anybody different, this applies to anything. Anybody different, 1 is a token, 2 is competition, 3 out of 10 is when you begin to get to normal. So basically 30%, right? 33%. And then I'm going to tell you about a couple companies that I've seen who do this really well and have seen real data-based improvements in parity are doing. One of the things they do is they remove all names and all he, she pronouns from all of the CVs when they are bringing things in. Right? So you have no idea whether it's, Tom or Tina. You have no idea. It's just, these are the skills and whatever. So they get the CV and it has the gender in there and they just remove all of that. They also remove the location this person lives in, right? The neighborhood, whatever else, because the zip code also tells you, what kind of person are they probably, if they're from the same zip code, whatever, okay? So they do that. Second thing they do is they absolutely ensure a diverse slate and a diverse review panel for every single hire and every single promotion. And what I mean by that is that if the slate of candidates is not diverse, they will simply not sit to bother to review. So that position will go unfilled until there is a diverse slate. Simultaneously, every review panel, even if they have to go to other departments, is a diverse review panel. So that if a woman is reviewing a woman, she's going to hear things differently than a man who's going to be, or whether it's an older person or a younger person, somebody with a different background, whatever the diversity is, because you want all of it, they actually do it such that you have to reflect that diversity on your slates and on your panels, review panels, decision panels, right? And then the last 2 things is that they actually do the same thing that they do with the CVs or the resumes when they actually do performance reviews. Which is, the performance review is, here's what this person accomplished. Do we think they're great or not? Mm-hmm. So there's none of this, back to this, the women, right, get held to a different standard. So it's like, no, they achieved 10% market share gain. right? Or they opened a new office in Indonesia, or they raised, $2 million extra for kids, right? Do we think this is a good performance or not? Who cares who it is? This removes all the bias of, but I always liked Steve. I always liked Julie. Whatever, right? It's a performance written review, and they take out all that other stuff. And then the last one is, and I thought this was classic, and it's really important for academia, which is they actually instituted a 5-second delay in answering any question. Because what they found was if there was a delay in answer, in the first second, every man, back to this whole thing, right? Every man has his hand up. And the women don't. But if you give a woman 5 seconds to think about what the response may be, then they got almost to parity between how many hands were up between men and women in any meeting. So they basically had all the leaders say, from now on, if I ask a question of the group, or the academics or whatever, the professor, I'm going to give it 5 seconds before I'm going to take anybody. So everybody has to keep their hands down for 5 seconds. And then the hands would go up, right? And they got much better parity by doing something simple like that. So what I would encourage you to do is to look at these procedural or structural things that are not that hard. I'm not saying they're easy. I'm saying they're not that hard. And the data would suggest in corporations, these are all either corporate data or academic data, that these things actually fundamentally change the outcomes in the organization. Because if you go to a third is normal, what happens is you hire in more diverse people, you promote more diverse people, and suddenly at the top, a third or more of your leaders are whatever category is considered diverse. So I'm sorry, we are 2 minutes over. I hope this was helpful. As I said, it will be posted. You can email me separately if you have questions or comments or anything. I try to just keep it really basic and very kind of human, because I think that's the way that it resonates, right? I could give you all the academic studies and it's kind of very dry. So hopefully you found this of value. And I thank you for the opportunity.